Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and today we need no introduction, okay? Because today we've got the PCE data coming out, so that's going to be interesting. Probably going to see the continuation of this sticky inflation narrative. Be interesting to see how that impacts rate probabilities. And we've also got Powell speaking on Friday when the markets are closed for the Easter weekend. Going to be a potentially volatile session today and perhaps going into next week. First of all, I want to talk about gold a little bit, right? Because we've been covering this little story and it's just getting funnier and funnier. On Monday, we saw a microcap gold miner announce that they're planning to purchase about 25,000 Bitcoin. The stock rose 1,900% in a single day. Then the CEO resigned, calling it a classic pump and dump. And since then, the stock has crashed all the way back down to 0.01, okay? Pretty wild. Speaking of gold, the gold breakout looks for real this time, according to both me and Bob Lucas, okay? We seem to be in the early stages of a new bull market. This is on the weekly time frame. So happy days, long and strong, continue to push gold. Something I'm going to continue to cover in depth on this channel, I imagine, is gold and indeed silver and some miners as we start to unleash this bull in the gold markets. Bob, by the way, nails it here, saying he's waiting for the snarky comments on how it moves versus Bitcoin, right? And so I thought this was a pretty interesting thing to bring up. I put this out the other day and I said, look, just two observations of mine, okay? XRP sentiment is in the gutter. I'm seeing massive amounts of capitulation. People that have been XRP YouTubers for years have decided to stop covering XRP. I'm seeing people get really angry just by anything to do with XRP. And the same is true of Marathon, okay? The same is true of Marathon. I'm seeing a whole heap of people saying things like, I'm never putting another cent into Marathon. And it just so happens to be that markets have this way of wearing people out before revealing the true direction. And I can add to this by saying the same is true of gold, right? Most people, when they bring up gold, just get attacked immediately. People are like, yeah, well, how's it done versus Bitcoin, right? That is not the point. The point is, how is it potentially going to do over the coming years? We've also seen retail investors puking record amounts of their gold ETFs. They're shedding them from their portfolio for something like 9 or 10 months nearly in a row. So investors are tired of gold. And like I said just a minute ago, markets have this way of wearing everyone out before revealing a true direction. And just to illustrate this point even further, all I did was write that, look, two observations of mine is XRP and Marathon sentiment is in the gutter. And I'm not going to read the individual comments, but there's plenty of them where people are literally angry by the fact I even mentioned XRP. And I'm like, you don't even seem to realize, like, you are the sentiment, right? If you get angry by a simple tweet like this, you are the sentiment, right? And it's the same for Marathon. In fact, under the hood, Marathon, whilst everyone is really upset with it, whilst people keep asking me, why is Marathon crashing when Bitcoin is pumping and all of this stuff, under the hood, institutions keep adding loads of Marathon, okay? So I remain, as I keep saying, bullish Marathon, bullish XRP and bullish gold, especially while the sentiment is so beaten down. Continuing on with this theme of gold for the morning, HSBC has launched a tokenized gold. So sounds pretty exciting, right? Tokenization of everything is probably something we're going to see over the next decade or so. But in case you're starting to get excited by tokenized gold, okay, don't. And the reason is there's no physical delivery of the gold. They do claim, however, to be purchasing the gold at a 1-to-1 ratio with the token. It does clearly state right here, there's no physical possession or delivery of the gold. And I would guarantee you somewhere in this document, just like with all the other ETFs, there will be some kind of disclaimer that says, by the way, if the provider messes up, if we have to go bankrupt, we can keep your gold and you can't do anything about it. And you agree to that when you buy the ETF. And I bet you, dimes to donuts, it's the exact same thing here. I bet you there will be a disclaimer in here that says, if you buy this token, then you assume all of the risk and they have none of the liability, just like any other ETF product. In short, this is literally all you need to know about this tokenized gold, okay? It is a paper gold scheme and that's it, right? So I don't trust these things. I get a lot of people ask me all the time, oh, Camel, I know you want to exit Bitcoin into gold or some of your Bitcoin into some gold. How are you going to do it? And I keep saying physical only. Maybe I'm paranoid, right? But I don't want anything inside the system. If I was happy to keep things inside the system, then I would just use fiat currency, right? So that's my idea. Like I said, we're going to keep covering gold because I believe gold has entered a true bull market. And if I hop into a gold chart really quickly, I know this is not a popular opinion, okay? But I think gold's going to do Bitcoin things. I really do think gold's going to do Bitcoin things, and I think likely we go way, way, way higher. I have a minimum target of around 10 to 15k an ounce. I think we likely exceed that by around 2x. That's the absolute truth of it. Will those dollars be the same dollars in today's value? No, of course not. But ultimately, I think this is what we're going to do. Okay, so again, markets have a way of wearing people out before revealing their true direction. We're seeing this in the gold market, as I said. We're seeing the retail exit the ETFs at record levels. It's the same with some of these assets like Marathon and XRP. Like I said, people are visibly angry just for me even mentioning XRP. And I have an XRP position. We've had this on the channel for some time. Here it is, right? But the fact that people get angry at another man's position, it's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird. And the same with Marathon, okay? In the last few days, you know, Marathon is starting to look more and more bullish. Bounce off of support, holding support, starting to resume to the upside. So if this can continue, right, record amounts of people will have puked their position only to watch Marathon finally reveal the direction. Something to keep in mind. And again, if I happen to be right about this, right, if this is even close, okay, and I think this is conservative, but if this is even close, then we would have seen record amounts of outflows, like I said, for about 9 consecutive months in retail, shedding their gold from their pension accounts and from their long-term accounts, getting rid of the ETF, only for gold to make that rip-roaring rally that they've probably been waiting something like a decade for, or more perhaps. So the too long didn't read. Camel is bullish gold and will continue to be bullish gold. Something else I wanted to bring up was Ethereum. I have been quite vocal in saying that I don't believe Ethereum is going to have its spot Ethereum ETFs approved. However, it's starting to look like I'm going to be wrong about this. We're seeing $4.5 trillion asset manager Fidelity filing for a spot Ethereum ETF with staking included. So let's see if I'm wrong about this. I will say this, people are starting to speculate that the Ethereum Foundation might have set a line in the sand that maintains a tenuous hold with manipulation and bots. Now, that's not me saying that, it's this person here, but any entity that has a vested interest in ETH or crypto is propping this up. It would make sense if Coinbase were involved, according to James here. As you know, I'm a charts guy, right? Charts are the truth and charts don't lie. I've written T versus E here, and what that stands for is tennis ball versus egg. So right here, we have the ETH Bitcoin pairing, okay? This is ETH divided by Bitcoin. And this line right here in red, you can see, is the line in the sand. That's that 0.05 level that seems to be being maintained. Now, what do I mean by tennis ball and egg? Whether we have an upward sloping support, a downward sloping support, or indeed a horizontal support, if support is going to hold and be bullish, okay, if we're looking for a bounce off of support, what we want to see is tennis ball action. Meaning, when price comes into that support, we want to see it bounce away like a tennis ball. What we do not want to see typically is price come in and behave like an egg, meaning it comes into support and it splats, okay, and does something like this. Typically, that is not a good sign. Now, right here, classic tennis ball action, bounce off of support, nice strong push, okay? That looks exactly like a tennis ball bouncing off of support. But what we have at the hard right edge here is much more of a splat, okay? This is much more of an egg look. Now, of course, all the while we're above the support, then it's reasonable to expect higher prices. But the more that we splat, the more that we do not bounce out of here like a tennis ball like we did back here, the more likely this becomes to break down. The question is, okay, what happens if it does break down? What happens if this egg does what eggs typically do, and that is break down because it lacks the support at that level to push away strongly? If this is to break down from here, it will imply that Bitcoin has vastly outperformed Ethereum for this entire cycle and would likely see all hell break loose in the altcoin world if this is to happen, right? If this is to happen. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but we are this close. And as I've been saying over and over again, and I say this not to wind up altcoin people, okay? I'm not trying to pee on anyone's campfire here. I'm just saying, in my humble opinion, more people are positioned for this, meaning more people have higher exposure to altcoins and lower exposure to Bitcoin than are positioned for this. Me personally, I am kind of biased because I will profit more if this happens, right? And I won't miss out on a huge alt season that I'm not prepared for if this happens. But I don't think that's the truth for the most of the market. I think the majority of the market is positioned to see a rip-roaring rally from Ethereum, alt season. I think they're all stacked massively one-sided in altcoins. And if this were to happen, we were to get this breakdown and there was a significant lack of alt season and Bitcoin was to have true increases in dominance for many, many more weeks and months to come, I think the majority of the people in this crypto space will suffer from that. And as I often say, markets tend to move to harm the most amount of participants. So pretty interesting time to be alive. Again, don't shoot the messenger, okay? This is the facts. This is tennis ball, healthy. This is egg, not so healthy, right? Now, again, it could certainly do this. Maybe it will. But if it does this, okay, the altcoin maximalists are going to be in a world of pain, most probably. I think Eddie here nails it, okay? Please just die already. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. As you know, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have a horse in this race. Okay, I'm positioned heavily in Bitcoin, and hopefully that's the right call, right? If it's not, then I'm not really going to lose anything apart from missing out on some pumps. But like I often say, there's always pumps that you're going to miss out on. So that's not a real problem. And from Ethereum to Bitcoin, over 95% of Bitcoin supply is now in profit. So that's something we only see in bull markets. If you've been holding Bitcoin for any length of time, apart from probably the last week or so, then you are in profit. So well done. Moving into the rainbow chart. Okay, first of all, this chart is a meme. Make no mistake about it. There's no real alpha here. But pertaining to this meme, we are still about 11k short of what's considered still cheap. So plenty of potential upside for Bitcoin in the not too distant future is implied. Perhaps not that high. Something more like this, perhaps. And from meme charts to serious charts, we are closing in on the end of the month. We are closing in on seeing potentially a monthly breakout close above the 2021 all-time high. As Nasco here shows, things could get very, very bullish very, very quickly thereafter. So pause your screen, take a good look at this chart. And a great spot here from Nasco again, because he has noticed that BCH, Bitcoin Cash, tends to lead Bitcoin. And given that this is the look for BCH, it tells us to keep an open mind about seeing a nice pump to the upside for Bitcoin in the not too distant future. If this indeed can be used, we could add this to one of our things that we monitor and look for leading indicators out of BCH. So with all that said, at the hard right edge of the Dixie chart, we are looking now to break out. So I am possibly invalidated. It looks like I am almost certainly invalidated, in fact, in seeing a 3-year cycle low rollover. I think we do have to confirm this as a 3-year cycle low. I think we do have to say that my target of the mid-90s is possibly not going to be reached. And until this breakout is invalidated and a violation of the upward sloping blue support line occurs, which it probably won't, we have to respect what the market is telling us here, and that is that the Dixie wants to break out. Now, is this the end of the world? No, I don't think so. But if we really are going to get a Dixie breakout, if this is going to be a true bull market, okay, it suggests to me that the end might be nigh for the bull run in risk, and thus we might be expecting a deflationary bust in the not too distant future. All of this has been quite consistent with my expectations on this channel. If we really are going to have that blow off top to complete the melt up, okay, and then that rollover, that deflationary bust, that global recession, right here, the entire time has been a Dixie to 134 to 140. Now, yes, I thought we would probably see the mid-90s first and then get a rally from there. And, of course, we could certainly see some kind of false dawn here, something like this, and then a rollover into a later 3-year cycle low. This would be early, where I had it before, somewhere in this neighborhood, would have been right on time. And, of course, there can be some wiggle room slightly later. For now, though, it looks to me like we are confirming a 3-year cycle low. It looks to me like it wants to break out. And if a big breakout, it's obviously not going to go as parabolic as that. But if some kind of big breakout here is coming for the Dixie, right? If we're going to see something like this, then I would say that that S&P 500 melt-up chart, the the deflationary bust, okay, with a massively strengthening dollar, as it says right here, this has been written here the entire time. This is how potentially we get asset price deflation. We get a huge crash, a global recession, and a Dixie that is bid out of fear. A dollar that is the short-term flight to safety. Yes, nobody wants to hold fiat for the long term because of the debasement issues, but if asset prices are going to crash massively, then the Dixie will gain relative strength as people exit risk into dollars. So again, when the market speaks, it's our job to listen. For now, the Dixie wants higher, and to me says we do have to continue to be open to seeing this come to fruition. Meanwhile, Bitcoin doing Bitcoin things, okay? So far, no pullback, no significant pullback, looking to resume higher. If that BCH chart, like I showed you from Nasco, is indeed going to lead, then maybe we've seen the end of this dip, okay? Maybe we're not even going to come all the way back down to perhaps as low as 64 or 66k for a retest. Maybe we're just going to shoot out of here as BCH has shown us. So for now, long and strong continue to push, as I've been saying over and over again, all the while we're above the cycle low, then I don't care, okay? I'm bullish until that cycle low is violated. And we do have to be open, as I keep saying, to seeing some kind of either double top, right, or a slight deviation and then a rollover. If we get this kind of thing play out, we have to be open to seeing a macro corrective 4 and a 60-day consolidation cycle before we can push off higher. But if we do indeed blast straight through this level, okay, and continue higher, then I think it is a straight snap to 80 to 90k at least before we get any significant pullback. So once again, Bitcoin doing Bitcoin things. As I was showing you earlier, gold doing gold things as well. Cycle lows continue to give us an edge over the market. We've got our stop moved up, and long and strong continue to push, see what the market will give there. The stock market continues to push. I've redrawn my yellow squiggle. I kind of cheated this yesterday in the live stream. The only difference is I think instead of going left translated into that daily cycle low, we're probably going to have a right translated cycle and then drop into that cycle low. We may end up marking this as the weekly cycle, or there may be one more daily cycle after that. For now, I'll leave this here. Once we get that decline into the daily cycle low, I will be looking to add a long out of here and capture the final daily cycle. Same is true of the Nasdaq. I'll probably be looking to add some Nasdaq exposure back. And we continue to push the Dow Jones long, which continues to overperform. So happy days. Same is true of the Russell 2K. This is starting to look really, really good now. And probably is going to snap to around 3K before this is all said and done. That would be my expectation. The crypto-related stocks, long and strong, continue to push, all the while we're above blue support for Coinbase. The same is true of MicroStrategy, right? This thing is just blasting off. So again, I was saying yesterday in the live stream, don't try to jump in front of any trains and short this thing just because the chart looks preposterous, okay? Wait for the thing to break down. There will come a time to short this thing. And a lot of people ask me, you know, Camel, are you going to short the top of Bitcoin? When you exit, are you going to go short? I'm probably going to short these crypto miners because they're higher beta, right? They pump up faster, and in theory, they should crash faster. So rather than short Bitcoin, I'm probably going to short the likes of MicroStrategy and Coinbase. So if you're the sort of person that wants to try to short the top, I'm going to do that, okay? I'm going to try to. Let me make that clear. I'm going to try to short the top, okay? But I'm certainly not going to be jumping in front of any trains because just because the chart looks absurd does not mean it can't remain absurd for a considerable length of time longer and then break down, okay? Nobody knows how high this is going to go. It's a market. And when people like to pile in short, markets have a tendency to gap up violently. And that is not a situation you want to find yourself in when you're short. So at some point, right? At some point, we'll see something like this come in and a trend line breakdown and then a downtrend, and we can enter, even if we're late, okay? If the thing is coming all the way back down here, okay? So there's no rush to short the top. I'm going to attempt to short the top. But for now, let's enjoy the gains. Let's stay long. All the while, we can continue to push the trade, and we'll see what the market can give, right? As always, here's Marathon, kind of already covered that. So like I keep saying, the stop is the stop for a reason. We're invalidated if we start to get stopped out because we would have lost the upward sloping blue support. We would have lost the range break in the blue box. If we break down from here, okay, if I'm stopped out, then bad things are coming for the price of Marathon walking forward. All the while I'm not stopped out, I have to remain bullish, especially with the massive wall of worry to climb, especially in the face of those institutions buying massive amounts of Marathon shares. You know, this is how the game is played. This is how the game is played. People who come in here got crushed and all they did was sell their position over to the big boys, and now the big boys are probably ready to launch this thing. So once I get stopped out, then we worry about Marathon. Until I'm stopped out, then we remain bullish. And the same is true of Riot, okay? So we're holding critical support, both horizontally and the upward sloping blue support line. All the while, I'm not stopped out. Then we're not invalidated. Bullish structure remains intact, and we expect much higher prices. Potentially with an add, if we can do something like this, okay? Grind our way up to this purple line, then we'll probably add a second position on this breakout area here. So long and strong, continue to push, see what the market will give. That's all I ever say, but that's all there is to it. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well in life. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.